Hello, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me and see me well. We're going to do another live Q&A video. I want to try to share this link out, so let me see if I can do that real quick. I want to try to get some people joining us here. So today we're going to talk about several different things. I've got a number of questions piled up, and we're going to answer questions. And we're also going to take your questions. So wherever you're reading this, you can drop into the chat on YouTube or on Periscope and ask your questions, and I should see it pop right up. Also Facebook as well. So I want to answer your questions. That's the point of the live Q&A. But I want to talk about something first. It's really been bothering me a lot. I talk a lot about freedom, and I do a lot of stuff with the law. I'm a lawyer. I defend people from serious cases, everything from speeding tickets to DUIs and everything in between. But one fundamental thing that I think we need to think about and talk about more is, are you free in your daily life? I know that me and everybody who watches this may have different ideas of what life should be like and what freedom means, but are you free? Are you a wage slave? Are you stuck doing what some employer tells you have to do every single day? Are you stuck with their policies and whatever they tell you have to do, you're going to just have to follow suit? Or are you free? That's the real question. And that's what I want to talk about today. I hope everybody can hear me on the audio. If you can't hear me, please give me a drop a line in the chat and we'll see what's going on. But I think it's working. So that's the issue. Are you free? And that's what I want to talk about. I've seen some people talk about maybe, well, my employers want me to do something and I don't want to do it, but every employer is going to make me do it. But that's not necessarily the case, first of all. But second of all, maybe it's time to be your own employer. Maybe it's time to find what skills and talents you have, and maybe you need to go out and do your own thing. Maybe that's what it's time to do at this point. And so I think that's important for us to think about, is freedom is not just freedom from the police. Freedom is also freedom from your employer, freedom from wages, freedom from jobs you don't like, and maybe it's just something you don't enjoy. Maybe it's time to find a different job and pursue freedom in other ways. So that's something to think about, and we'll come back to maybe later on. So let's get into your questions. And let me make sure we got everything. I want to make sure our links are all working here. Give me just 1 second. Okay, yeah, I think we're working. Everything's live, everything's going good. Okay, so we'll make sure it's functioning. So we have questions. So first of all, that's me. I'm Andrew Felucci. I'm your local attorney. I practice in Virginia. I do DUI, traffic, speeding things, but this video is more about lots of general questions. So even if you're located anywhere, hopefully you'll get something out of this. So let's talk about, first of all, this is a great question. I did a video a little while ago on the different liquor and how it may affect the alcohol content of your favorite mixed drink. And Cosmic Charlie was really eyeing that Bushnells that I had in the video thumbnail. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I really enjoyed doing it, making one of my favorite drinks, a mojito. Today, I'm just drinking some water, but out of my fun bicycling mug. All right, so let's get on to a real question. This is a question about a video I did about roadblocks or DUI checkpoints, checking details, whatever the government wants to call them. The question is, they don't have to give prior announcements about checkpoints in Virginia? You sure? I thought that was part of the ruling the Supreme Court made, that they also had to do that, among other things, in order for them to be constitutional. Well, I've got news for you, sir. Unfortunately, in Virginia, at least, it is not the case. They do not have to give any announcement or publicity to do a DUI checkpoint or roadblock. Unfortunately, the police can just set one up, and that's kind of the whole point. I mean, if they do an announcement or publicity, they probably won't catch many people. And some jurisdictions, I understand, maybe do require signage or something like that. But in Virginia, there's no signs even required. They just have to set it up. It has to be neutral. They can't be sort of targeting somebody, setting one up right outside of your work, for example, to target you. They have to prove that it was neutral and things like that. There's lots of little requirements, but there's no requirement in Virginia. And as far as I know, of course, with the Supreme Court, there's no national requirement that there has to be publicity for a traffic detail. All right, let me see. I don't see anybody in the chat yet. So we'll keep going with some questions that I've got ready from the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please go over there and subscribe. Just search for AndrewFelucci.com and or Andrew Felucci, Attorney at Law on YouTube, and please subscribe. And please share this video wherever you're watching it so other people will see. I try to post useful information on YouTube that lots of people will be interested in and helpful, and I'm here for you if you have a Virginia case. All right, so this is a video I did on don't talk to the police. Some of my most popular videos on YouTube are how to encounter the police and what you should do if you encounter the police. And the most important thing is don't talk. Okay, so here's a question from Joe. If a person has done nothing wrong, he shouldn't, I think he meant shouldn't mind talking to the police. It is very unlikely that the police will try to set someone up. I really hope Joe is being sarcastic. I'm not very good at detecting sarcasm. My wife has a little sarcasm flag graphic that she puts in group text sometimes when Andrew is not picking up on the sarcasm. I hope Joe is being sarcastic. There are people who think this, though, that if you have nothing wrong, nothing to hide, you've done nothing wrong, you shouldn't worry about talking to the police, or you should let the police search. If you have nothing to hide, what are they going to find? One principle here is, first of all, that you have to flex your rights. You have to exercise your rights. Okay, to you, rights are like muscles. They're going to atrophy if you don't exercise them. Secondly, you don't know if you've done anything wrong. There are so many laws these days. And frankly, you may have been driving or something and not paying attention, and you may think that you did nothing wrong, but you may have cut somebody off or done something where you didn't realize you did it. And the officer saw everything, from his perspective. So this is just a complete misnomer. You should never talk to the police. You should never let them search because frankly, you don't know what they're looking for and you don't know what you may have done wrong. So I'm hoping Joe is being sarcastic, but I wanted to cover that issue anyway. All right. Now we have a reaction to my one of my first Reddit reaction video, Andrew the Goat. I appreciate it. I don't think that I am, but I appreciate it. All right. Lucky says, on my video about lies the police tell you, one of the lies they tell you is to blow into this little tube. They have a little handheld breath test, and they say, this is only going to be used between you and me on the side of the road. It's not going to be admissible in court. And of course, it's going to be admissible in court. That's the whole point of the handheld breath test, is to prove that the officer had a good reason to arrest you. That's the whole point of it. So don't believe their lies. Lucky asks, are there lies that are illegal for officers? For example, saying you must answer certain questions or telling you you're being detained. It's a really good, insightful question, Lucky. Let's talk about it. Okay, so a police officer can lie to you. They don't have to tell you the truth. But there are important legal issues that they also have to cover. For example, the question of you're being detained. Well, if an officer tells you you're being detained, it's not really a lie, right? I mean, I don't understand how that could be a lie because either he's detaining you or he's not. If he tells you you're being detained, then you have to remain there. And I suppose if you went ahead and ran off, well, he would still have to justify that he detained you. So it's not really something he could lie about. It's just a statement he's making. So there's really not, in other words, there's really not anything that's illegal for an officer to lie about. Now, suppose if they came knocking on your door saying we have a warrant and they don't have a warrant and there was no warrant to be produced, well, then that would be an illegal search at that point. So in a way, that's an illegal lie. So there are a few things that the officers, I guess, can't lie about, and it will have repercussions in the case later on. If they misrepresent that they have a warrant for a search or a warrant for arrest or something like that, those things could be illegal lies, so to speak. If you're just now joining us, please welcome. We're going to cover some live Q&A, and we're going to come back and talk about another issue that I think is very important about freedom at work. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. If you have any questions, please drop it in the live chat wherever you're watching this, and please share and like this video. It really helps me get the word out. So we're talking about illegal lies. The fundamental principle when dealing with the police is to don't talk to the police. Don't answer their questions. It is not a good idea ever to talk to the police. And there are some things that the officers really can't lie about. For example, they may tell you you're under arrest. Well, that's not really a lie, right? They can't really lie about that. Either you're under arrest or you're not. If they assert that you're under arrest and they did not have the proper probable cause or warrant to arrest you, then you have a strong defense to that arrest. So it's a little bit of an interesting question and a little bit of interesting twist. In general, they can lie to you all day long. Then I have another video on not talking to the police. Again, it's a popular topic that people, I guess, can't get enough of. And we have the taxidermist says, easiest way to protect yourself with a cop is just refuse to answer anything because you don't have to, and they can't arrest you for refusing to answer them. It's a great insight there. You never have to answer police questions, essentially. There's a couple of quick caveats to that. If you're driving a motor vehicle in Virginia and most states, you have to provide your driver's license and your registration for the vehicle. But you really don't have to answer questions. You just have to provide your documents, essentially. And that will be your driver's license and registration. If you're in an accident, you have to provide your insurance information. Other than that, you really don't have to answer police questions. But remember, any questions you do answer, any answers you give will be used against you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of will. Police officers aren't just making small talk. They're not just out there having fun. They're collecting evidence. They're pursuing crimes and investigations that they think will lead to some type of conviction, or trying to figure out what's going on. Maybe you're just a witness, but they're pursuing something. And anything you say is a response to a question they asked because they need to ask that question. DUIs are a good example. They usually ask you, when was your last drink? And everyone wants to distance themselves from the drinking and say, oh, it was a long time ago, officer. It was an hour ago, or it was 2 hours ago, or whatever. But really, it would be better, essentially, if you said, officer, I just downed one while you were walking up to my car. Look at here. Here's the empty bottle. Because essentially the way DUIs work, they have to prove that you were intoxicated at the time of the driving. And let's say in an easier case, if you're involved in an accident and you're sitting there on the curb waiting for the officer to show up to help, ride up the accident, and he comes up to you and says, I smell alcohol. When was your last drink? If you say, oh, I drank hours ago, then if you're drunk at that point on the side of the road, he can claim that you were drunk at the time of the driving because you drank before the driving. But if you're sitting there on the curb after an accident and the officer walks up and says, when was your last drink? If you said, oh, I just chugged a beer while we were waiting on you. Well, now they can't prove necessarily that you were impaired at the time of the driving. Now, the more important thing, and I'm getting some flack from this, is don't drink and drive. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It hurts people. It kills people. But if you are involved in a situation, you need to know how to assert yourself and protect yourself. And of course, the most important thing is don't talk to the police. Okay. All right, let's see. We have a live question here. Hang on, let me remove technical issue here. All right, so we have a question. Have you ever had a holy cow, my life is just like Law and Order moment? It's really funny because I have a DUI that's going on now, a misdemeanor DUI trial that we're now going to go to trial part 4. And when we were there last time for trial part 3, I just had that flash of the doom doom. When you see the black screen and you see the little text come up and it says, New York courthouse number 43, trial part 437, and it gives you the date on Law and Order. And that's what it really felt like, that we were there over and over and over again for one misdemeanor DUI in Fredericksburg City. We're fighting that thing tooth and nail, and basically the Commonwealth's not giving an inch, the judge isn't giving an inch, but we're still fighting the heck out of it. That's what it takes sometimes. And sometimes you still lose at the end of the day. But the goal is to do the absolute best for the client, make sure they have a fair trial, and make sure we're fighting hard all the time. And so, yeah, it happens. Not very often. Usually my job is more like there's an episode of The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon goes to traffic court. And he says that the judge is the presiding at the kiddie table of his profession. And that's, in a way, sometimes kind of what my job is like in traffic court. But we do decide important decisions. It is real court, and people's lives are affected every single day. And of course, we're fighting hard to keep people out of jail, keep people's licenses, keep people's jobs and homes. It's definitely an important stuff. That is all the prepared questions I had, and I don't see any more live questions. Although I will hang on for just a couple minutes if somebody has another one. We got a few more new viewers, so I want to encourage everybody to share this video. It really helps. Please subscribe on YouTube, and feel free to follow me on Twitter, and subscribe like us on Facebook. It really helps out if you'll do that and share the video. I want to circle back to what I started with, because I'm not sure how many people were with us at that time. I started this talking about freedom. I talk a lot about freedom from the police, but frankly, we all need to be thinking more and more, I think, about economic freedom, freedom from your employer, and freedom in your daily life. Most of us, thankfully, are not encountering the police every day. That's what I talk about because I am dealing with police every single day. That's what I do for people. I'm kind of the barrier, the defense, the shield between clients and the police. And so that's what we do every day. But a lot of people, you're dealing with your employer, you're dealing with your bills, your mortgage, you're trying to take care of your family and your life. And a lot of people these days are feeling stuck. by their employer, trying to follow some sort of rules or policies they may not agree with. And this could be anything. Maybe it's something that your employer is asking you to do, you don't want to do, that you have a moral or religious objections to. Maybe it's just your daily work. You're stuck in this grind that you hate. Well, you're not very free then, are you? I think we all need to every day be thinking about that. How are you going to be free? How are you going to have a better life for yourself? And if you're not free in your daily work, you're not really free. You're more of a wage slave. I've seen a lot of people talking about how, well, if I just leave this employer, every employer is going to be the same. Well, that's not true. First of all, there's lots of better employers. No matter where you work, there's probably somebody better to work for. But also, maybe you can start your own job. I am thankful, more thankful than ever before, that I'm my own boss. I'm very fortunate that I have staff. We have 2 employees that work for us that do a really excellent job, and I'm very fortunate to be their employer. And I hope that they appreciate working for me. But I'm very thankful that I am my own boss, that I'm where the buck stops, and that I make the decisions. And maybe that's something that you need to pursue. If you're feeling like your industry, there's no other better jobs, maybe you could be your own employer. And maybe, frankly, it's time to switch jobs. There's lots of things you could do with your talents and skills in the world, and you don't have to be frittering them away in a place where you feel like you're a wage slave. So I'll get off my soapbox now, and I'll just share a couple of comments. Andy says, awesome, just saw this. Andy, we're so glad you stopped by. I hope it's helpful. I really appreciate it. We have another question. What made you start doing traffic law? It's a great story. I actually have a video, I think it's public, on my YouTube channel about my first reckless driving case. So when I started as an attorney, I was actually trying to do small business law. I was trying to do copyrights and trademarks, and that was really interested in from law school. And I thought, let me do that. That's what I'm going to do, is help small businesses. Well, small businesses are strapped for cash, and they're not really looking out to go and hire an attorney for stuff that they can Google online and feel like they have the answer for. It's not really the right way to do it, but that's what small businesses do when they're strapped for cash. I had a website, and I had a guy call me one day and said, Andrew, you're in Spotsylvania, aren't you? And I said, yes, sir, I am, Spotsylvania, Virginia. He said, well, my son, we're leaving New York, and my son has a reckless driving ticket in Spotsylvania. Can you help? I said, you betcha I can help. At that time, I really needed some clients. And so I learned everything I could about it. I went and sat in the court for several days, just observing the dockets, and met the judge and the clerks, started meeting officers, did that first case, and I still remember my heart just pounding when I went up to the front of the courtroom to handle the case. And I loved it. Every single bit of it I loved. Just helping my client, basically being that guy standing on the line, standing in the breach between him and the system, and trying to keep my client safe and achieve his goals. And that's what I do every day, is stand in the breach, running at the problem to help my clients, to defend them. And that's what I love doing about traffic law, DUI work. And then we have a great comment from Willie Czar. I love this channel. Thank you for the live shows. Your channel is sure to grow. I appreciate it, Willie. Please share and subscribe on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Folks, that's what we've got for today. If anybody has any final questions, I'm happy to answer it. And other than that, I really appreciate everybody stopping by. Please tell your friends. Please, like I said, please like us on Facebook. More importantly, subscribe on YouTube. It really helps out. I try to post a video there every other Tuesday. That's the goal. So today's Tuesday. 2 weeks from today at 1 p.m. on that'll be the 24th, if I can do my math right. So the 24th at 1 p.m. we'll have a new video dropping. So please subscribe and click the bell so you be sure to know when the next video is going to drop. I will try. Let me see if I can drop here. I'm not. Maybe I'm not sure if it's going to show up for everybody, but be sure to subscribe on YouTube if you're at us looking at this on another platform, because that's where we're really trying to kind of focus everybody. It's a little easier. I see a good question here from Willie. So Willie says there's lots of distrust between the police and people, and what do you think might fix that? It's a really good question. Really good question. I don't distrust the police. First of all, let me make that clear. Trust but verify, I think, is kind of my mantra with the police and with a lot of things. I know a lot of really good officers, and frankly, a lot of officers, if bullets start flying, I'm going to get behind them and hit the deck and trust them to defend me and my family. I know a lot of officers, I would put my life in their hands, frankly. I know some that I don't necessarily believe every word they say at court, frankly. Sometimes there's embellishments and things like that, and you kind of learn this over time, that sometimes people kind of make mountains out of molehills, even when you're in that profession. So I don't know for sure how to fix the distrust. I think the media, sadly, has done a lot of damage to that and kind of made mountains out of molehills, and sort of kind of helped to encourage that wedge. Um, so I don't know exactly how to fix that. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that all issues like this are local. All politics is local. And so I think the most important thing is to be active in your local politics, be active in who's running your police departments, whether it's a police chief that you may not have any power over choosing, but your local supervisors or councilmen would be the ones who hire them. So your votes in elections matter. But also just maybe meeting some officers, especially if you're a person who kind of distrusts the police, maybe you need to learn, meet some officers. And I think some departments do a good job of having some sort of meet and greets. I wish our local sheriff's office does these like ice creams with the sheriff and things like that, which I'm not against in principle, but it's not a really good meet and greet. It's not like community policing where an officer is kind of meeting and having relationships with a neighborhood. That's where to me community policing could be more helpful and I think encourage trust. Is if a neighborhood gets to know a couple of officers who are kind of their local officers, their local points of contact if there's a problem or a concern. And the officers get to know the citizens and they get to know the normal issues that come up in that neighborhood and maybe get to know some of the troublemakers in the neighborhood. I think that kind of policing model I would suggest is where maybe the police could help work on that. And so at your local level, I think you could get involved and maybe encourage your sheriff or your police chief to look into those kind of programs. And frankly, maybe some departments need better funding and better resources to do a better job. But also I think citizens can, I always tell people, be polite to officers, but don't talk to them, right? If they're investigating you for a crime, you shouldn't be a jerk, but you also don't have to talk to them. You can say, respectfully, officer, I'm not going to do that test, or respectfully, officer, I'm going to remain silent. I understand you got a job to do, but I'm not going to talk. So that's the kind of sort of trust but verify relationship that I think is important. And I think that would help kind of fix some of the distrust in the system. That's my view. We have a great comment from Andy Rusk. Awesome. I get to watch one of your live stream. I appreciate you stopping by, Andy. If anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm getting a little tired. My voice is going, and so I think we're about to log off. I again appreciate everybody stopping by. Please subscribe, and please share this video, and tell your friends. I really appreciate it, and if I can help anybody, you know how to reach me. My contact information is all over everything. Let's see. We have a question from Chrissy J. I have no idea, Chrissy. What are your thoughts on what's going on with Cumberland Hospital? We're going to talk about that. Chrissy, I'm going to have to research it. I have no idea. Maybe everybody knows but me. Sometimes I'm behind on the news and current events. So I'll have to research and we'll get back to you. But this is a live Q&A. As long as it's family friendly, we talk about it. That's kind of my mantra. So I hope you'll stay with me. Remember, every other Tuesday at 1, I'm posting a video, and I'm trying to do a live Q&A maybe about every third or fourth video. We'll do a live one. So subscribe, and you'll know when the next one's coming up. Oh, we got a new question here. Looks like, is Virginia a stop and ID state, Prince William County? I think what you mean is, are you required to provide your ID if stopped by the police? And as far as my understanding of the law, if you're driving a motor vehicle, if the police have reason to stop you, you do have to provide your driver's license or registration. If the police, or if you're just walking down the road, the police would need a reason to stop you. This goes back to what's called a Terry stop. It's based on the Supreme Court case. I want to say it's Ohio versus Terry. But I could have that wrong. But anyways, the Terry Supreme Court case where we go into what a Terry stop is, the police need reasonable suspicion. Let's say you're walking down the street and the police want to talk to you. Well, they need reasonable suspicion to actually make you stop. Now, if they say, hey, sir, can we talk to you? And you just say, sure, what's up, guys? You walk over to them. Well, that's what's called a consensual encounter. But if you don't want to talk to the police and they say, hey, sir, we want to talk to you, and you just keep on walking, for them to essentially make you stop or command you or use their authority to stop you while you're walking, they need some reasonable suspicion. At that point, I believe they would probably be able to get your identification. And that's where it gets a little iffy. But these days, I don't know that fighting over identification is going to get us very far, to be honest. Now, if you got an open warrant or something and you're worried about them finding that out, that may be a bit of a different story. And that may be where, frankly, you need to deal with your warrants. You know, stay out of trouble. And I'm not saying people are guilty of what they're accused of, but if you got a warrant, you need to deal with it. You know, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Trying to just evade that, you will get caught eventually, unfortunately. And Willie's helping me out. Yeah, he says yes. It was Ohio versus Terry. I'm glad my memory didn't fail me for once. Guys, I really appreciate it. I am going to go. I appreciate everybody stopping by. We'll try to do these, like I said, subscribe. Every other Tuesday, we'll do a video. So I got a new one coming out 2 weeks from today. And we'll try to do a live stream every 3 or 4 videos. So maybe about every 6 to 8 weeks. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a great day. Stay safe out there and don't talk to the police.